What's up, everybody? Welcome to On the Record, the Fat Records fan podcast, where we're going album by album, side by side, and roughly chronologically through the whole damn catalog. I'm one of your hosts, Alex, joined by Ben. What's going on, man?
Hey man, looking very festive.
Yeah, we're going on a vacation with Goober Patrol. So that is going to be today's record. And let's just jump right into it.
Well, one question to start us off.
Yeah?
Um, had you listened to Goober Patrol before this?
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Only on the fat comps. That's it.
And why did you not check them out more?
Because of the band name. That's why.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I was going at. It's a dumb fucking band name.
Oh yeah, yeah. That'll be a you know when we take a break later on. Just I was gonna ask the question. What Can you think of any other bands that you just can't deal with the name?
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure.
there's a lot of bands that are really good that have very bad band names. This is one of them.
Yes, yeah. This
Uh,
record was surprisingly good.
yes, I will completely agree with you on that. But before we start talking about that, let's just go through the liner notes here. This record was originally released on May 28th, 1996 in the UK by Them's Good Records, and it was released on July 23rd, 1996 in the United States through Fat Wreck. At the time of the recording, the band lineup was Simon Sandel on guitar and vocals, Tim Snelson on guitar, Stuart Sandel on drums and vocals, and then it was actually Ian Clithero on bass. He was the one who did the recording, but it was Tom Blythe that was basically like right after the band recorded this record. Ian left the band and Tom stepped in. Um, and the reason that I know this is I found a very fun interview with Tom. Um, the It was through a podcast called This Was the Scene, and the episode is episode 107, and we'll put the a note in the show notes so you can check that out if you're interested. But it was a fun interview, um, and it's worth just checking out just to hear more about the band's background, and he talks about Guru Patrol playing in clubs, pubs, snicker halls, and like an old meat locker. Um, so there's just like a lot of like fun little details like that. Um, but yeah, so check that out. And before we get started, I guess we can talk a little bit more about, um, I guess, what you thought of it off the before you or, like when the first like initial listens that you had. Like, what did you think of the record kind of overall?
So I noticed something interesting with it.
Okay.
It seems to evolve on, like, the same path that a family vacation might evolve. The
Oh.
early songs are much more carefree and light,
Hmm.
and then the later songs are like, reality starts to seep in, like, you're gonna have to go back to your normal life soon.
Oh man.
Uh, People start to get on each other's nerves, and so,
Okay.
like, the later half of the songs really seem to mirror that as well.
I did not pick up on that, and that is a really interesting observation. Hmm. I wonder if that was intentional in the sequencing.
I hope so.
But but yeah, like I was saying before, I had never listened to this band other than the couple of like the handful of songs that were on some Fat Wreck comps. Um, and to be honest, I think I usually kind of skipped over them. I didn't. I don't remember ever thinking, "Oh, I need to hear more of that," for whatever reason. So it was a real, well, it was a relief, and it was also just really great to check this out and be super into it. I thought this was like far better than I was expecting it to be. Um, if you've never heard Group Patrol or you've only heard a handful of their songs, there's a lot of stuff that's taken from like it sounds like they take a lot of like inspiration at least from like the sound of the guitars, and there's a lot of stuff that sounds kind of like Rancid. There's some stuff that sounds like Leatherface. And of course, there's something I don't know how it's possible because it came out in the same year, but it does sound vaguely like the Suicide Machines, which I
Yeah, I thought the first song
yeah.
sounded a
Oh
lot
yeah,
like
yeah. There's
Suicide
there's
Machines.
some really similar riffs that they're using, and the sound of the guitars is really similar. It's really strange, and there's no way it could have been intentional in any way, because these records that the Destruction by Definition came out right around the same time that this did. So
Maybe they played shows together or something.
yeah, I don't know. Um, but well, I mean, they Goober Patrol was not signed to Fat prior to this record, and they had already completed the record when they sent it to Mike and asked him if he'd be interested in putting it out, and he was into it. So somewhere between them finishing recording um, and the release, they sent it to him, and he was on board for it. So yeah, I don't. It's probably not possible that they tried to sound like the Suicide Machines at any point. It's probably recorded in '95. Um, the other thing I'll say is I love the cover art to this record, which is the band hanging out on a couch, and that couch is on a surfboard in the ocean, and it's just a kind of a funny record cover, and it kind of tells you everything you need to know about this band, at least like the topics that they're gonna cover, because a lot of this is really just like fuck it, let's have fun, which is pretty
It's
cool.
a very fun record.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say is another thing that like really charmed me with this was this band loves doing guitar solos, so I'm on board. Seems like every song has some kind of cool solo. Uh, but yeah, let's just jump into it. Well, I think we should start at the top because "Easy Life" it's a really good lead off track, and it's one of my favorites from the record. Uh, they're just trying to play as fast as they can on this song, and it's just really fun. And the song itself is just about allowing yourself to have fun and to stop worrying for a little bit. Um,
It's good life advice.
yeah, totally. I agree. Um, yeah, it's just really about he's just kind of like making the case for having fun and because people need to express themselves and we're always busy all the time. We're gonna crash eventually, so you have to give yourself some time to enjoy your life. What did you think of this one?
Um, yeah, Easy Life. I mean, as I said, I thought it sounded like a Suicide Machine song at the beginning. It's a fun song, and it has very good. There's lots of very good life advice on this record. Mostly just take it sleazy.
Yeah. Um, my favorite line from this song is "Too much bureaucracy, not enough TV," and I mean, yeah, that's like a really good way to even sum up their whole attitude. They don't take themselves seriously, and it's in the best way, really. So I really liked this one. Um, did you want to jump around to any of your favorites, or you just want to kind of keep going? Because I don't think it really. This is different from a lot of the ones that previous records we've done in the past like few episodes, where I don't think it's really necessary for us to go track by track in order. Because
Yeah, yeah. If there's another one you want to talk about, bring it up. Uh, I don't know. I didn't have any like crazy favorites on this. I like the record, but
oh, okay,
uh, nothing that I think I'll be listening to again too
okay.
much.
Um, so I really liked, and you probably picked up on this too. The third track, "Empty." Um, where the opening of the song, like it has to be completely deliberate that they swiped it from Green Day's "When I Come Around."
Yeah,
It's it,
that's all.
yeah,
That's most of what I wrote about it was
yeah.
kind of sounds like when I come around.
Sounds a hell of a lot like it. But yeah, they do their own thing with it, but they definitely take that. I mean, it's almost identical.
I could see that, like, maybe when they were first starting to play, like, people were like, "Oh, you just sound like Green Day, fucking posers," and this was kind of a, you know a nod to that,
Yeah.
or more middle finger to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the song, I guess it would kind of make sense. I don't know if it totally makes sense, but like I was trying to think if there's a reason why they would have intentionally tried to like just take that from Green Day. If not, I mean, if no other reason than just like, yeah, let's just do that. It's for fun. Um, but I couldn't really quite figure out, I guess, what the song's about. I guess it could be about success in the music scene. Um, because he says it's not just you, we're all to blame, driven by a common aim. The game's not fair. We all just want to play. Everybody's telling you you're going under. Everybody wishes they could help you over. Wishes fall apart at the seams. Um, so there's a few songs on here that I was having, you know, I guess kind of a difficult time figuring out what they're actually trying to get at. Whereas other songs are pretty straightforward. Um, so I really liked Empty. Okay, so what did you have any kind of notes about what you thought was like the best song from side one? Was there really anything
Um,
that stood
I
out?
thought that the let me see. So I thought that the topic of Egghead was really cool. I didn't really like the song itself. That I mean, I thought it was okay. I think it was bad, but I thought that Egghead had you know lyrical topic wise was pretty interesting.
How did you read it? Because I just kind of I kind of chalked that one up to being yet another song about you know how working a traditional job won't be fulfilling, which we've had so many of those. And then there's actually another one of these songs on the
There's a
same
lot.
record.
Yeah. So I liked that it was more from the perspective of like, you know, don't think that your employer cares at all about you.
Right.
They might give you a gold watch. They might
Yeah.
give you a gold watch, shake your hand, and then they're gonna kick you out on your ass. They don't, and so it's I think basically don't be loyal to your employer
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the way that what I took out of it.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
And then the next song is about similar stuff. The biggest joke, I thought that the song itself was really good. Um,
Yeah.
but, it seemed to be about getting caught up in the rat race,
It
just like pretty much everything else.
it sort of is. The biggest joke is my favorite song on maybe on the whole record. Um,
It's a very
I
good song.
really like the song, and it's funny because I'm pretty sure this was on one of the Fat Comps, and I don't know what it was about it that I just wasn't super into it. But like in the context of this record, it's really really good. Um, yeah, I really like this song a lot. I really like how it like alternates between doing those upstrokes and the heavier riffs, and like the vocal hook and the bridge is like so good when it just sort of like amps it up for a second. It's really good. But my read on the lyrics was that they're like sort of about people, I guess, telling him that he should prioritize his education over being in a band. It's sort of how I was reading it. It's not totally explicit that that's what it is, but he is saying that now's the time to kind of to go for it because there's no really telling what could happen. Um, so it's the lyrics, just the way that they're phrased and everything, seem maybe a little obtuse, and I couldn't quite, it doesn't feel like I'm not super confident that I got that right in my reading of it, but
Yeah, I could see, what you brought up there, but yeah, I looking at the lyrics again right now, it really to me, I just see, you know, what's the point in getting caught up in the rat race?
yeah, yeah. Um, So as for some of the other tracks, I didn't find anything that I disliked here. I will say track 4, Crammin'. Um, one of my other takeaways here was the first time I heard this, I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And I think like the just like sort of like the vocal hook on it reminds me a lot of one of my favorite songs from Banner Pilot's Collapser, the song Empty Lot. It's like a really similar sound to just like the way that they're singing their lines at certain points and the verses, I think. Um, but ultimately, this is it. You know, Crammond's it's good, but it wasn't one of my standouts really. But I did note that like lyrically, I mean, it's just more of them talking about having fun and taking it seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just kind of thought that it was just essentially almost a reworking of Easy Life, which then I joked was maybe that's why it's called cramming because they're just trying to cram an extra song into the record.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
um,
That just it's an almost like it's a little endearing, like how much this guy really wants responsibility to fuck all the way off. There's just no, there's like nothing here that suggests that they take anything seriously, which is it's great.
there is like an ideological commitment to slacking off that this band embodies.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so.
I liked "I'll Do Without." Shit, sorry, I already started to smear it. um, but I thought that thought it was a good message, good life advice, and it was a fast song too, so I like that a lot.
Oh yeah. Um yeah, that one's good too. Uh Yeah, I mean, it's just like those first couple of tracks especially are just like they're playing at top speed. It's not just like it's one of those times where you're just listening to them play and you're just like, wow, I'm exhausted, like really paying attention to that. Um, and I'll do without is it just feels like a continuation of Easy Life as well. Um, it just it seems like this one is just about him saying that some people just need to chill the fuck out because they're always sort of like reacting before processing things that people say are due to them, and that can be a hard thing to learn, but he's just
Yeah.
calling that out. Um, and then, is there anything else you wanted to say about any of these other songs here? I think the only one we haven't talked about is track 7, One More Time.
That was when I wrote the bit about them being ideologically committed to slacking off. Um, as an overachieving slacker, I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, I like this one. It's solid. It's got like a good I feel like this one has a good rhythm to it. And then they have like a riff that they use in the verse that helps sort of change that part up and makes it a little bit more memorable. And then there's like a bass solo and that's really cool. Um and it has an ending that makes it feels like a good closer to side 1 of the album. Um
Mhm.
yeah, it's another song about following a dream, and I just like the line where he says, "Unexpected things can come of trying." So they're very much uh, all about focusing on the band. That's definitely these guys' priority. Is just having fun, and I think that's really coming through here.
I did think that this was the first track where the vacation seemed to maybe hit like some choppy water.
Okay, all right.
Particularly well, because he's asking for like help at the end of the song, right? Like, help me out one more time.
Okay.
Those wings were free. I'll pay you back in kind.
Okay. Yeah,
That's a change in tone from the basically fuck everything, let's get drunk and party all the time of the previous songs.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I didn't really think about it that way at all. Um. Okay. Any more thoughts on side 1?
Oh, no, not too much.
Okay. Before we do side 2, let's I just want to know, do you have any bands you can think of off the top of your head other than this one that have an absolutely horrible name but you love? Like in like a surprising way. Like you the first time you heard the band name, you're like, I'm never gonna listen to that. And then you listen to it and you're like, shit, this is really good.
Uh, what's that? I gotta look up the name of the album. Ah, no, actually, I like that. I was thinking I might say the band Have a Nice Life, but actually, I like that band name a lot.
Okay, yeah.
Never mind. Um, think. I'm sure there's something like I absolutely love
Yeah.
that I think has a stupid band name. Like, um, probably the first time, first introduction to Integrity, I thought that band name was really fucking stupid. Um, uh,
I will
um,
say that, like, at least when it comes to fat bands, I absolutely you know how much I love Lagwagon, but it's embarrassing to say that band name sometimes, I swear to God, like, it's just I just don't I've just never that's, like, always been one of the things that I like the least about Lagwagon is the name of the band. Um,
yeah,
I just
you
wish
know
that it
what?
had been something different.
It looks really good on T-shirts.
It does, it does.
It
Um
like the logo looks nice. Um,
Oh yeah, it's like they've got like a good design sense. They hired, good designers to design their merch and stuff. Black Dragon's got some really memorable T-shirts, and I mean, it's like overall, I would say like on the whole, like a lot of their merch and their albums and stuff like that, it all looks really good. But like, there's something about saying the name out loud that you're just like, it just sounds little too goofy. Um, so that's a band that I really really love, whose name I just never really have been super into. Because some band names do grow on you.
so I think the dumbest sounding one that I like a decent amount might be "The Pains of Being Pure at Heart."
Oh yeah, that is a good one. Yeah.
Um, I guess there's lots of names that I thought were dumb initially, but like warmed up to after I started listening to the band. That's one that I still think is kind of stupid. Um, but I also like it. You know what I mean? Like I like that it's stupid. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, cause there are stupid band names that just really fit the music. Like, let's say Screeching Weasel, stupid band
Goober
name,
Patrol.
or Goober Patrol. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. But uh, but Screeching Weasel is one I always think of too. It's like just like out of context, you're just like, why would you call your band that? And then you listen to it, and you're like, okay, I kind of get it.
It's like the perfect stupid name for a punk band, right? Like if you were like in the 80s making up like a bill for like a punk show, like Screeching Weasel would absolutely be like what is it, 21 Jump Street had the punk episode or whatever. Like that would be on a flyer if Weasel wasn't already a band at that point, which maybe they were. Um,
Yeah. Um, I guess.
Listeners, send us your dumb band names,
Yeah, seriously,
please.
we love them.
Uh,
I wanted to have it would have been very appropriate, if I had asked that question and then had a, maximum obscurity ready to go, but Josh is not here, and I didn't have it quite ready, so, maybe in the next episode we can play that, but, I got some good ones this time around too, as yeah, I'm sure you saw my, like, crazy things I was, like,
those pictures were pretty cool.
screenshotting from Maximum Rock and Roll. It's a lot of goofy shit in those old issues. Definitely, it's fun to go through all those though. Um, but yeah, band names they can be real stupid. I guess the other question that I guess you've got some good thought starters here. Favorite vacations, worst vacations, but I'd actually this is an interesting one. How many like have you ever gone on vacation and not been planning to see a band? Because you and I have both taken trips specifically to go see a
Yeah,
band, but
yeah.
um, I'm trying to think if there's ever.
Only one I can remember.
Okay, what was
Um,
it?
so, I mean, I knew about the show before I left because I looked for
Mhm.
shows before I left, but like it was freshman year of college. We went to London for a week. It was like dirt cheap. Like it was a way to like get people to do study abroad was to like do a dirt cheap spring break. Um, and I saw Cursed and some other bands play the Underground in Camden. And that was pretty cool. That was
Yeah,
like
that is
I
cool.
think I think I pretty much after I got my like bags thrown in the hostel, like went straight to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember being very tired. Uh, Drank my first legal beer there. Uh,
Oh yeah. Oh okay. I do. I think I do remember this story now.
yeah. No, the other parts of the story were other nights.
Yeah, yeah. I just remember you telling the story about the drunk British girls just puking right in front of you.
Oh yeah, well, I was no better.
Right, right. Yeah. um yeah, I'm trying to think. There was that time when I came to Philly to see we were going to go see Hot Water Music and we didn't I don't think we didn't really plan to go see that show that had Paint It Black and Dillinger 4, did we?
I can't quite remember. I thought that that was what we had planned to do, and then just happened to go to the Hot Water Music Show. Anyways, I can't quite remember.
No,
Um,
because I specifically remember that the reason that I was coming out to Philly was so I could see Hot Water Music do one of their reunion shows, which at the time they didn't have very many of those lined up.
oh, okay. I didn't realize that was them playing reunions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the reason that I think went out to go see that.
Uh,
And
but
then
yeah, that
Paint It Black
Dillinger
was
4, Paint It Black.
that was a just a plus in my book. And I think you stayed for Dillinger 4 and then
Yeah,
I went
I
and
left before the Circle Jerks though to
oh
go
really?
meet you
Oh,
at
okay.
the Hot Water Music Show.
Do you regret
Did
it?
you come out? You were there when they played the show in the street too, Paint It Black, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
the Sailor Jerry
was
store.
Yeah,
It was
did
complete
you come out
chaos.
specifically for that or
I think so, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
it was very cool.
I came out to hang out, but like that was a
Well,
reason to go, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good reason, yeah.
Yeah. And that was also that was like the quickest I'd ever seen a show canceled. And also one of the most memorable things I think I've ever seen. That was really something. That
Yeah,
was complete fucking chaos in the street.
people diving off trees.
Yeah, they were jumping out of trees. They were like the speakers did not last. The speakers like it was maybe like 2 songs into the set and the speakers were just busted. It was a total mess. I mean, they played for maybe what, 10 minutes maybe before they shut it down.
I do not have that clear of a memory of that, but that sounds right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really either, but I just remember it really did not last very long. Um, but yeah, that was pretty cool too. Um, and then damn it, why is the name of the band escaping me? When I was in New York.
Oh, yeah,
Uh
you saw Piss
Yeah,
Jeans
I saw Fish
before I
Jeans,
got
that's
there.
right, yeah. That was completely, just on a whim. I was in Brooklyn, and I was, like, looking around, I was like, "There's gotta be somebody playing somewhere, right?" And I was right. So I went to Brooklyn Bazaar, and, man, that was one of the most that's probably, like, one of the most entertaining shows I think I've ever seen. There's those guys are crazy.
They are extremely
They
entertaining to
put
watch
on
live.
the best fucking show. Like, I'm not, like, a gigantic fan of the band, um, but goddamn did I love that show. So, good on them, man. They were doing some wild shit. Um, just skateboarding on the stage, they were hanging from the rafters, they were, like at one point, the vocalist went into the back and came back out with one of those, soap dispensers that you mount on the wall, and he was just, like, hitting the button and, like, shooting soap into the audience. It was goofy as
They're
hell.
dirty, they gotta get cleaned.
Yeah, yeah. And then at the very end, the one of the guitarists took his guitar and like he was just wrecking his guitar. And then he like takes it off and he just like puts it on a guy in the audience and the guy's just like hitting the strings. They had no idea what the fuck he was doing, but like it didn't matter because it was already just a bunch of noise anyway. Um, but man, that shit was fun. I've seen not enough shows with that much energy, and I really miss it. But those are the great examples of what you can experience at a very small show where you can actually interact with the band.
Yeah, yeah.
Good stuff.
Wanna flip her over?
Let's do it. All right. Side 2. Got a couple more tracks here that I really like. First of which is track 9, Grabbers.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with a different one. Um,
But I really like this one. Like at the beginning of it, like definitely gives me a heavy Leatherface vibe with that guitar lead. Um, and the song itself's really catchy. And then there's like there's like many solos on this record that sound a lot like Rancid, but this is another one that has it that sounds a hell of a lot like it was pulled from Rancid. Um, and then as far as the lyrical content of this one, it seems this one read to me as just being about materialism and just people never being satisfied with having enough, and that they're constantly looking at what they can gain next. Uh, but it's not super clear. That's just I think that's what it is though. What did you think
yeah,
about
yeah,
this one?
I can totally get that from it. Again, I think that this is like just darker, um, darker undercurrents, starting to come out with these songs. And yeah, the music has definitely moved away from ska punk. Um, on this with this song at least.
Yeah,
But
I mean they'll
I
come
think
back
in
around to
general,
it though.
yeah, um, yeah, no, I think it's very much. I mean, the name grabbers. It's very much a materialism.
Right.
Um, so that was definitely one of the songs I liked a lot on this side. But I thought you were going to actually go with Happy Tunes, which I thought was also a really good song on this side.
I do
Uh,
like Happy Tunes. It's good. What were your thoughts? Like what did you like so much about it?
You know, I didn't really write a lot about that.
It's fair.
I became very obsessed with the idea that the vacation was falling apart,
No, okay.
and so I was commenting on that here. And again, it's the you're starting to see the it's a lot of the same topics, but you're starting to see
Yeah.
kind of the underbelly of those topics. It's not like let's slack off and have fun all the time anymore. The
Yeah.
vacation.
This one I was reading as being about um it's like they came up playing a style of music that wouldn't have been popular if not for a lot of these other skate punk bands that have sort of blazed the trail for them. Because he talks about like somebody else like at first the door is blocked and there's nowhere to go, but then in the second verse he talks about how they knocked the door down. Somebody came in and knocked the door down, and I feel like he's talking about just like a lot of these punk bands in the 90s, because I think a lot of like the older punk music is so serious. It's a lot of
I
it
did,
is
yeah.
very heavy and all about like social issues and stuff like that, and not about just having fun. Like it wasn't like it was almost frowned upon to have a bunch of like goofy, silly stuff. But doesn't mean that there hasn't been like a lot of bands that do that type of thing before this. But like I think it was maybe just not as appreciated. Like they sort of cleared the way for a band like Goober Patrol to come in.
I can see that. I also maybe wonder if those friends that have been ahead of him, I mean, did they have much ties to Snuff and Leatherface?
There was no mention of Leatherface, from what I was reading, but Snuff were very much like a band that Guru Patrol looked up to,
Okay,
which I could
yeah,
see as well. I could see the influence of Snuff on Guru Patrol,
yes,
at least in terms
definitely.
of the attitude. Because Guru Patrol, I mean, Snuff does have a lot of like sort of like I guess just like they do some funny stuff. They've got we'll talk about it in the next episode, but they do
Oh,
have they have that entire record that's all jingles and stuff like that. Like that's really funny. It's very silly. But I appreciate that, so I can see how Goober
yeah.
Patrol would look at that and be like, yeah, that's awesome. Um, so the other song that I like really liked from this side of the record was "Painless Way," just track 12. Um, it has a this was another one that has an intro that's very Leatherface. Um, and it's got some really good solos in this one, and then it has like a really great ending to it. And I also noted that I felt like this probably to me this feels like this would have been the best choice for the closing track because the way uh, it ends.
Yeah, it ends with like an well, no, it doesn't end with an angry rager. Never mind. I thought I'm not home was the last song. Um, but yeah, no, I mean this definitely. I thought that it was a really downer ska song. Was how I described it. Um,
I
and it's
this was like another this was like another song about avoiding the traditional job. Um, you know.
but the consequences are showing up now,
Okay, yeah.
right? You had it, you blew it, you give the world to get it back, right? Like he's
It's
the
yeah.
world's caving in. Can't be
Yeah.
on vacation 24/7.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, you're making me see a different side to all this.
No,
Uh,
well, it's interesting that you saw it from different, like the last song we are talking about. Thought about it more from the perspective of the band itself because
right, yeah.
I I generally just ignore that. Don't write songs about being a band.
There's a lot of them on here. There really is.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm I'm a musician. I'm free. You're, stuck in an office. I get it, guys. I get it. I am jealous. I do have to wonder with how many bands were writing songs with this topic specifically, like is it purely because it was just a different era where you could make that choice? I mean, musicians definitely seem to have a much better opportunity for making a living doing, touring around and stuff like that because it was before the internet started pirating everything. Um,
I mean, now I thought most income comes from touring, right? Whereas then
well,
a
yeah, I
lot of
mean,
your
but they
income
actually
was
they would actually make money off of record sales back in the '90s. Uh,
well, they probably make money off of physical record sales. Not much. I think the margins are pretty thin, but
Probably.
there's people have seem to have really gotten into uh, collecting records in like the past 10 years.
Oh yeah, finals
More
back.
so than when we were younger.
Oh yeah, I think that was actually like a really great time to get into vinyl was because a lot of it was so cheap
Mhm.
because nobody
And then
wanted to
I lost interest
bother
once
with
it
it.
all got expensive. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
this isn't
yeah,
fun anymore.
right,
I
yeah,
don't want to spend this much money on a record.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I thought Duvet Rising and I'm Not Home were both particularly angry songs. It makes me think of the episode of Peep Show when Mark like almost lands Big Suze as a girlfriend, but he screws it all up. By being Mark. And she's like, "I won't take your half of the duvet." Like, he's sleeping on the floor next to her initially because he's Mark and won't get in the bed with the woman. And she's like, "Oh, get up here. I won't steal your half of the duvet." Oh, one of his best lines comes from that. "I'll just wait till she falls asleep and get all the hair touching I want."
Oh yeah, yeah. Such beautiful hair. Yeah, the hair touching thing. That's so good.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I don't know what I don't I I'm not sure what the religious context is for Duvet, but this song is very clearly a song that's just a swipe at organized religion. It's pretty straightforward. But I don't know what a duvet has to do with religion. Unless it's some sort of clever thing. I don't know. Duvet rising is like I have no idea what that could possibly mean. Something about
maybe
making fun
it's
of Jesus.
pedo men of the cloth or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Um,
What did you think about 1,000 Ways? Because
uh, so I didn't think much about the music, but I thought that
yeah,
it seemed to be about having principles, but then realizing that you really on your own aren't going to do a damn thing. and realizing that you just have to coexist with other people.
Yeah. Um, he does say that like he talks about how he sounds lame, but he's also at the same time amazed at what a little thoughtfulness can do, which is one of the lines. Um, so yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. It's like he's acknowledging that yes, you're probably tired of hearing me talk about my principles, but just doing a little bit can go a long way in some situations.
But his principles are slacking off.
It's everything's at odds. I don't I'm not sure. He likes to slack off, but he's also vegetarian and a humanitarian, according to him. So,
According to him.
just don't be a dick. Yeah. Um okay, though maybe this is maybe the only like the song I'm Not Home. I This is maybe the only one I would have cut. I just wasn't really loving this one. I think this one's okay.
With Duvet Rising coming so close to it, I don't think it should have been there in the sequencing. Maybe in
Yeah.
s either cut it or move it to side A, I think,
Sure. Yeah.
because
Um
those are similar sounding songs.
yeah. Yeah, it just that one I think you just do without it. It was too long too. It was just kind of dragging for me. So like, um, it's I guess they do. I guess that there are like a bunch of songs here that are over 3 minutes, but like for some reason that one in particular, it's not even the longest song, and it just feels too long for me. Um, and to close it all out, let's talk about the last track, "Piss Off," uh, which this is another one that like when you listen to it and think about how the rest of the songs sound, it doesn't really fit, but that also might be why they stuck it at the end. Um, and this one in particular reminds me of the Suicide Machines in a whole bunch of ways. The riffs, those upstrokes, the bass lines. They even throw in a hey hey, and it still kind of does its own thing, but like it I don't know. I think that I still think that Painless Way would have been a better closing track, and maybe you maybe could have left this one off, but like I do like how this one just kind of ends on a this like pretty long like instrumental portion.
Mhm. Um, so I thought that the lyrics and the sound of the song evoked like the kind of fight that you would have with like a friend or a lover at the end of a vacation with them, like having been trapped with them for a week,
Okay.
and then like it's some stupid thing sets off like this big pot boiling over argument, um, and like it even evokes the kind of feeling of freedom that comes after the big like knockdown drag out fight.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, to think about even more about that narrative of like the arc of a vacation, uh, just this song "I'm Not Home" makes a lot of sense. Like I'm on vacation, so
yeah,
um, but yeah, I could totally see this being the the end of the vacation where you're just on each other's last nerve.
yeah, because that's what it is basically. Is like something caused a fight to happen, but something had been boiling below the
Right.
surface the
Yeah.
whole time.
Um, and it's funny too because like in that interview with Tom Blythe, he does talk about how this these guys were like all like really good friends that lived together, and he said that there was generally almost no uh like fighting between the band members. So of course there were arguments, but he seemed to I mean obviously he's saying this like many years after the fact, so maybe he's looking at it with rose tinted glasses, but you know it is you do like there's lots and lots of songs that bands write about how their band members after being on tour for months start to drive them insane. So I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually what this was about. But
Yeah.
and then What do you think about that phone call at the end? Just the message that guy leaves. It's
I
just
didn't.
goofy. It's funny.
I like that. I think Snuff also has like a bunch of skits. I think more of these bands should have had skits on their records.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right.
That's gonna do it for Goober Patrol's Vacation. Really like the record. It's a lot of great songs on it. Um, and definitely like a few that I've ended up adding to my master list of like just my favorite songs. It's really fun. But now we're going to talk about some rival records, and we've got two classics. Um, the first of which, obviously, we've talked a lot. We've mentioned the Suicide Machines a bunch of times. So why not just talk about Destruction by Definition, which is, I mean, this record is basically immortal. It doesn't seem to be like it hasn't aged a day in my mind. And
No,
maybe
not at
that's
all. Yeah.
nostalgia. I don't know. I would be curious to know how somebody who had never heard this record until recently would take it and how they would think about it because
I think
it's so good.
people whose like introduction to pop punk was stuff like in the 21st century
Hmm.
might not understand it, but
But
um,
apparently ska's coming back. I was literally at a dinner party last night where some guy told me that like he's got a friend who's a writer who's also a stand-up comedian who was just like the one of the headliners at a ska festival, and I was like, excuse me, what year is this? uh, I guess there are a bunch of like up and coming ska bands that people are calling, I don't know if it's fourth wave or fifth wave at this point, but yeah, I haven't listened to any like newer because I mean, you know, I've said many times already, like I just can't do a lot of the ska stuff, but something like Suicide Machines. I think one of the things that remember we went on that cross country road trip and we listened to this record after it had been. I just remember us talking about how it had been a really long time since either of us had listened to it, and we both kind of looked at each other and were like, "There's a lot less horns on this record than I ever thought there was." And I think it's just because they used a lot more of like the um, just they pulled a lot more from ska guitar and just like the more of like the standard guitar
they have
beat.
a lot of organs though.
It's true. There's that too. Um, so I think those elements made me think it was more ska than it really is. Uh, but it's just like a really excellent mix of like I guess traditional ska, at least in my mind anyway. I'm sure that there's somebody out there that's just like gonna completely disagree with me, but it just seems more like just a great mix of like punk and like older ska. It's like the like a really great balance and like synthesis of the two that makes this work so well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of like people refer to it as ska-core, and I think that that's a very good description of it. Like they
Yeah.
sound like a hardcore punk band that just has ska stuff in their songs sometimes.
Yeah. And
I did think while listening to this though that the song "So Long" could be called emo ska. There's lots of like twinkling guitars at the beginning of the song.
sure.
Uh, what if Mineral got got a horn section?
Okay. Yeah. Um yeah, so like this is this is one of those records that like it has 16 songs. I mean 17 you count the hidden song at the end. I don't want to hear it. Um but like with that many songs, I really did think that I was like, oh, if I listen to this, I could probably like cut it down. But like something just even thinking about that, it just doesn't seem like I would ever even do that. Um, even if some of these songs maybe aren't as strong as some of the others, I just think that this whole record is just really, really great across the board.
Yeah, like I have at least I think 10 favorite songs from this record. It's
Yeah.
so
Well,
good.
let's hear them. What are some of your favorites?
Well, first of all, New Girl,
Yeah.
because who among us has not plotted to make an ex jealous by getting an even better in all possible ways lover.
Yeah.
That's what the song's about. That's the energy it brings is like,
Well,
"Fuck you. I'm gonna get somebody hotter, cooler, smarter
yeah.
than you are."
Yeah. I was gonna
Um,
say that about the whole record though, is that like the lyrics are fun and I like them, but they're not deep and they are exactly like the song title. In almost every case, the song title you can guess that that's exactly what it is. Like the song title tells you everything you need to know, and you're not gonna get anything that's deeper than that necessarily. Um, but that's okay. It's like another. This is another record that's just a lot of fun. It's another reason why I think it really fits as being like something you can compare to Goober Patrol.
every 15-year-old punk should be given a burned copy of this CD.
Yeah.
So other than New Girl, SOS, Break the Glass, No
Break the
Face,
glass.
Too Much, Islands is such a good fucking song.
That's probably my
It
favorite on the whole record.
it might be up there for me too. The Real You,
Oh yeah.
it's really stupid, but Van's song is great.
Yeah, it is.
Insecurities, and then I actually love the I Don't Wanna Hear It cover too.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
good. It's a great cover.
I heard it right around the time I was introduced to Minor Threat through, like,
Mhm.
downloading shit or whatever, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is really cool." So,
Yeah, man, they just
yeah.
they fucking killed it with this release. Like it's so incredible. It's like it just doesn't even seem possible that this is their first record, right? Like I don't know if it was because it was a major label release out the gate that they had the ability to like really take the time in the studio to get these songs perfectly right. I do have some recollection of somebody talking to me about the recording of this album, and the reason why it's so good is because they had so much time to get it right. And that a lot of these songs were in kind of rough shape for when they took it into the studio, and then it got cleaned up quite a bit. But none of that matters now because when you see this band play, they they play these songs so well. Like it sounds exactly the way that you would expect it to. But yeah, I don't know. This record is just like it's incredible that this is their first album. And then by contrast, I remember I haven't it's been forever since I've listened to it, but I just remember uh listening to Battle Hymns and going, "What happened?"
Um, so the Suicide Machines are actually going to play a show soon.
Okay.
It this episode will likely be out after it's happened, but
Mhm.
they're playing with a bunch of other guys, other bands that we've talked about on this podcast.
Oh, okay.
So it's Avail headlining, and then Suicide on one of the dates. The Suicide Machines, Dead Guy,
Wow.
and then Fuck It, I Quit, which is Tim from Ensign's new band, are all
Wow.
playing.
Okay.
And then the night before, Avail is playing with Paint It Black, Kill Your Idols, and School Drives. So,
Wow,
um,
that's really cool.
anybody that's going to that is or went to that, I guess, by the time you hear this, is pretty lucky. Uh,
Yeah, where's that at?
Irving Plaza in New York City.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's cool. Have you ever been to that venue?
Yeah, I think it's where I saw Texas is the Reason and
Mm.
Chain of Strength for the Rev 25th anniversary
Oh, you
shows.
know what? I for some reason I didn't know that you'd seen Texas is the Reason. I didn't know if I because I got to see him and I felt so lucky that I got to see him and I didn't know if you were able to or not.
Yeah. They played the New York Rev 25th anniversary shows.
Very cool.
And yeah, they were great.
Yes,
Um,
they were very
I got there very late, so I don't think I saw anybody else that played.
Oh, okay.
Popeye from Far Side opened. I remember reading.
Oh, I do. Okay, now I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Um,
Um but yeah, it's I mean as far as I go, I can pretty much echo everything that you said about this, all the songs that are your favorites. Um it's all great. Like I just can't. I can't like even other than like I would say Islands and Break the Glass. Like if I'm going to take two songs from this record that I'm just like can't live without them, those are the two. Uh it's so good.
I'm inclined to agree. I think New Girl though, just because
Yeah.
It's just so ingrained in your brain from playing Tony Hawk.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely the first time that I had ever heard this band. And I just remember like I that's another one of those songs that I would just like listen to over and over again, especially while I was playing that game. And do you remember I guess it was we saw them at Bogarts. I don't know if that was the first. It was definitely the first time that I had ever seen Suicide Machines.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, and I remember, and maybe we weren't both saying this, but I remember thinking to myself like, "Oh, but it's been so long since they've put out, Destruction by Definition. Are they really gonna play that many songs from it?" I was like fully expecting them to not do that many songs from that album, and they played like a ton of songs from this record.
Yeah, I recall it being mostly songs from this record.
And apparently that's just what they do because I mean, hey, good on them for knowing, what their best material is. But
Who opened that show? Was it Big D and the Kids Table?
uh,
Because I think Against All Authority played as
they
well.
did, yeah.
Um,
Oh man, that would actually make a lot of sense because Big D, they liked to play Cincinnati a lot. I saw
oh yeah.
them too many times. Um, yeah, that sounds right. But I do remember thinking like, oh, Suicide Machines, they're probably not going to play the things that I want to hear them play, and then they played pretty much all of like tons of great songs. And that's not to say that Suicide Machines don't have other records with good songs on them because they do, but this is easily the best thing that they ever did.
Yeah, I recall the one that was new at the time that we saw them being okay, not terrible. Was that the Match and Gasoline record or something
Mm-hmm.
like that?
Yeah, yeah. And I wasn't super into that one. I liked some of the other ones that came before it though, like because they had they're self-titled and Steal This Record both had some those both of those records I know have some good songs on them that I remember really liking, but it's been forever since I've listened to those even.
Which one made them look like they were like a '90s like one-hit wonder alt rock band?
I think it was Steal This Record where they're like dressed in like
Okay.
suits and playing their
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Uh, I love the title of the record though. Steal This Record. It's great.
Yeah, there's a book, Steal This Record by Abby Hoffman, I think.
Oh,
I
what's it
maybe
about?
got that wrong. It's an anarchist book,
Oh, gotcha.
so that's why it's called Steal This Book.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, Destruction by Definition. If you haven't listened to it, I don't know how it's possible that you're listening to this podcast and you've never heard this record. But if there's for some reason you've never encountered it, go listen to it. Um, and I can say the same for the next record as well because we're going to talk about Less Than Jake's Losing Streak. Um, Another classic that's very much like if you're listening to this, you've probably heard it. I can't imagine that you haven't. Uh, but if for some reason you haven't, this has some of Less Than Jake's best material that they ever recorded. Um, I would say that the second half of this record, or like somewhere towards the middle to the just all the way to the end almost, are just like this. They have a string of songs that they do that I'm just like, oh, you could have just released these 9 songs, and this would have been, maybe your best record you ever made or something. I don't know. I mean, like Hell Rock View, it's been a long time since I've listened to that one, but that one is also kind of like I remember considering that one to be like a perfect album. But this one really does have this like crazy string of songs, starting with Johnny Quest Thinks We're Sellouts and straight on through to almost to the end, where it's just like every song is just so good. But I don't know. How do you feel
I
about
had a
this one?
I had a completely different experience with this.
Oh, okay.
I do enjoy Hello Rock View and like some of the other ones that came after it. I didn't
Hmm.
hate this; like it's a pretty good record. My biggest gripe, I think you probably echo it, is that it's a bit too long.
It is. Yeah.
Um, it, I thought that it sounded like a Less Than Jake record, although I thought something about it made me think it was like a Christian band. Was Less Than Jake ever a Christian band? Like,
No, never.
something about the sound on this record to me makes me think like,
Oh,
"Oh,
weird.
man, these guys are Christians." I like, it's just something about the vibe. songs or something.
Hmm.
And then for starters, I'm not a fan of Johnny Quest thinks we're sellouts. Do not like that song very much. Um,
Oh, I
my
still really like
favorites,
it.
I like Ninth and Pine. I like Shindo. Um, Never going back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's a good life rule to have. Uh, Ask the Magic 8 Ball and Rock and Roll Pizzeria. Those were the ones that
Yeah.
I liked the most.
Yeah. Um, as I was sort of just like looking around, this is such like a beloved record among, people really into this style of music. Um, first of all, like, I again, I keep saying that I'm not really big on ska punk stuff, but there are exceptions, and this band is one of the exceptions that I make for it. That's still I can listen to it, and I'm still just like, it's like, yeah, these are great. And I think the reason is because like they don't go too hard on the ska, despite having the upstrokes and the horns. They don't go too hard on it. A lot of times, and even when they do, I don't know. There's just something about the way they write songs that I think really works for me. Um, and I think especially the early releases where they're just like playing like really fast fun songs a lot of the time. It's just it's another record that they're not taking themselves very seriously. I mean, how could you when you've got a song called Johnny Quest Thinks for Sellouts? um which, if you don't know what Johnny Quest is, it's a very old Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and the song is actually not talking about the cartoon at all. It's about um I think I actually so I found a quote from the vocalist Chris uh, about that song, and he says he's a friend of mine that I've known since elementary school, and he's an architect student at the University of Florida in Gainesville, where we're from. And we played the show in town, and it was a battle of the bands, and we won, and we got to play at the great opening of this record store. And this guy wrote in his work office at the architect school, "Less than Jake are sellouts." And as for the name Johnny Quest, that was his moniker, his nickname. He never heard us before or anything. He just wrote it just because. So we shrugged our shoulders and decided to write a silly song about it. Which that's honestly like I knew that there was like that it had to have just been them calling somebody that just happened to look like the character. Um, what an obscure reference though, especially now. Uh,
Uh, Venture Brothers is basically Johnny Quest, but funny.
and even that, if you I tried to watch that like 8 years ago or something like that because I had never really seen it, and I had a friend that really loved it and recommended it. And then going back to it, I was like, wow, there's there's a lot of like uncool shit in this show. There's some questionable humor. I'm just like, oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. They lean.
But Johnny Quest
What?
itself is, I'm sure, pretty
Oh,
racist in a lot of
yeah,
ways, I
yeah,
would
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
So it's either way you cut it. The story.
Are you talking about like the number two in command for the evil guy?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that was one of from what I remember. It's been so long since I've even tried to watch it. But I it's like I can understand. It's like, oh, it's different time, all that shit. But like I think I kept trying, and it just wasn't really working for me that well. But there were some funny jokes. I did love some of the conceits of just like um the kids that die, and then he can just bring them back. Like that's some funny shit. But yeah, Johnny Quest in this day and age, definitely very obscure. Um, but another song that I wanted to talk about was "Never Going Back to New Jersey," just because I love that they used that actual state song at the beginning of it, which sounds so funny. But I have to ask, I mean, you lived in Philadelphia. You didn't seem to have the most, let's say, friendly view of New Jersey. Um,
a lot of people I met from New Jersey sucked. A lot
okay,
of people I met from New Jersey were wonderful too. I think probably I was just caught up in the group group psychology that New Jersey is ass. I mean, like there's a bunch of super fun sites there. Um, like it's just basically, I think, like other than like some tiny cities, it's just like strip malls. I think in like very deep South Jersey, it's like a lot of farmland too. Um, it's fine. I don't understand why anybody that doesn't live there would want to live there because I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
sure that the real estate is very expensive,
Hmm.
and then why would you pay that much to live in New Jersey? Like,
Yeah, I mean that's just funny because like I meet so many people that I have. I mean, I've known a lot of people that are like really good friends of mine or people that I really enjoy that are from New Jersey. But when people talk about New Jersey, they're just like, "Oh no, no, we don't like that place. Don't go there. Don't do that."
there's
Um,
some wonderful people from there, but like,
there's some really wonderful
I
people.
wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah, it's just so funny that like New Jersey has such a bad rap. But obviously, I have no experience with it. I don't know that I've ever set foot in New Jersey, so I can't say anything about it.
One thing that people hate about it that I'm probably desensitized to at this point is you can't pump your own gas there, or at least you couldn't for a while. Maybe they've changed it. Uh, it's really dumb. I lived in Oregon. I think when they changed the law, I can't quite remember, but
You did because I
um,
remember the first time that I went to Oregon to visit you, they still had that.
yeah. And then I think it changed though before I left because, well, a lot of people were really mad, like, oh, people are going to lose jobs. Like,
Oh God.
it's not like they had a ton of people working at gas stations before. I've
Right.
definitely been to gas stations where they just had one person working the pumps and working the register combined because like somebody called out of work. So it's not like it's the end of the world.
um, but yeah, New Jersey. If you're from there, you're probably all right. But a lot of people talk a lot of shit, including Less Than Jake. But I think that's because Vinny was from New Jersey and then he moved to Florida. Um,
Did he move to Gainesville for school?
it might have been earlier than that. I think he said he was 16. Yeah, I
Oh,
found I found a quote from him that he said, "At 16, I moved from New Jersey to Florida. In Florida, I met a bunch." This is pertaining to the song "How's My Driving," Doug Hastings, which is another great song. Um, he said, "I met a bunch of insane local surfers whose hobbies included throwing rocks through windows, pissing on overpasses onto cars, drinking beer, and all around raising hell." Again, it's a true story about one night and my thoughts about not following the crowd.
I do want to say, I think it's kind of bullshit that a band from Florida is talking shit on New Jersey.
Oh yeah, the irony. The irony is very heavy here. Florida, Jesus.
Yeah, the fucking Bugs Bunny sawing it off the US.
Get it off, cut it off before it infects everything else. Well, it kind of already has. Um, the other fun little thing I found was about the song "Jen Doesn't Like Me Anymore." And Vinny says, "I wrote this one about a girl that liked Chris," and he listed out her wacky attributes. Said, "A father who had a photo album of pictures of people in the bathroom. He'd kick in the door and take a picture while they were taking a shit or whatever."
That's so cool.
um, the second thing he said was her having sex with her cousin. No, not cool.
Same Game of Thrones.
Yeah, very Game of Thrones. Um, and then the last thing he said was eating all my ramen and Kool Aid. That's just not cool, man. And we know Vinny loved his ramen because he made a record label called Fueled by Ramen.
It put out like one good record,
Um, what did they put out?
the Lifetime reunion record.
Was that Fueled by Ramen? It was I thought because they Fueled by Ramen. I don't know how long it went
Oh no,
on.
no, I
Is it
got it. They
Paper
Fueled
and
by
Plastic?
Ramen put out Fall Out Boy. Was it
Mm.
Pete Wentz's label? Hold on,
Oh yeah, it might have been, yeah. But
I'll get to
the
the
guys from Less
bottom
Than
of
Jake
this.
also later had another label called Paper and
Oh
Plastic.
no, it was Fueled by Ramen
Was it?
that put
Oh,
it out.
okay, that's cool.
Um, I think.
But I think he also did put out Fall Out Boy on Fueled by Ramen.
Okay. Okay, so it was an imprint of Fueled by Ramen that it was put out on. Pete Wentz had his imprint on
Oh.
Ramen called Decade Dance, and
Oh Jesus.
they put out
Oh,
a reunion record.
stupid name. Um. All right, and then finally, my favorite song from this record is "Rock and Roll Pizzeria." Um, it's just a great song. And my main just memories of this song is just in high school. I just remember just blasting this record with the windows down, driving around at night. Um, did this many times with Eric in the car. I don't know. There's probably times where you were hanging out with us too. We're just
Yeah,
driving around, listening to it, or whatever. Just thought we were cool. Nope, definitely not cool. Still not cool. And but the song's still great.
speak for yourself.
Okay, true. I am not cool,
Um,
but my fanny pack might say otherwise.
what do you got in that fanny pack?
Unfortunately, nothing. I wish I had packed it with something, but I didn't.
You should.
Um, the other thing
You
that I
should.
wish I had was I wish I had had like a tiki drink or something because it's a vacation.
That's. Uh,
Alas, I do not.
you should have filled it up with muscle relaxers and
Oh God.
syringes full of anabolic steroids. Then you could be like The Rock. That's what his fanny pack was full of.
Oh my God. I mean that. Yeah, that tracks. Um, but yeah, I still really like this record. I think it holds up in a lot of ways. The first half of it or so, for the first 6 songs, I think are good, but I really think the record shines in the later tracks. Some of the most memorable songs that this band ever wrote, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, if you've somehow never listened to it and you like this kind of thing, you got to go back and check it out. Like Less Than Jake's been around a really long time, so I would understand if maybe somebody who got into them in like the uh maybe like the mid 2000s or so, um, maybe never went back, but you'd be missing out on some of the best stuff for sure. Also, so strange how this band was like on a major label and then they were on Fat Wreck and then they went back to a major label. And then I guess they left again and just did all independent releases. Um, so they've kind of seen it all.
Their
And
their newest song is about Fat Mike. I think I talked about
oh
that. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember if this season or last season, but
yeah.
was it? But Fat Mike likes drugs, right? Is that the title of the song?
Sounds right. Um, did you see like I guess NoFX claims that they're gonna break up next year? I
Yeah,
just
it's
thought it
not
was. I just thought it just. I couldn't tell
like
if it was a joke or not.
3.5 decades.
Yeah.
Um, do we need any more NoFX albums?
No, but they are fun to watch. They're really good at playing live.
I can imagine that. Yeah,
They're every time I've seen NoFX, they're very very good, which is so surprising with how much they talk about doing drugs. But they are.
they get in the flow state, you know.
I guess so, man. Yeah, it's all those drugs really aid their playing. But every time I've seen them, they're fucking pros. Like, goddamn, they don't fuck up at all. And I've definitely been witness to some bands playing some sloppy sets. Um, you know.
There's like a sweet spot for slop.
Oh yeah, there is for sure. But every time I've seen NoFX, they are like they seem like they are on top of it, which is just surprising considering how much they talk about doing drugs and doing drugs before they start playing. So who knows? But anyway, that's gonna do it for us. Um, if you have any questions, comments, or most importantly, corrections on anything we might have gotten wrong, please email us at ontherecord@gmail.com. so we can set the record straight in a future episode. Aside from that, you can please follow us on the podcast platform of your choice. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and write us a review, or at least give us a star rating on Spotify.
Like a
Definitely helps
YouTube
us
video.
out. Or yeah, hit the like button on the YouTube video.
Call us
Smash the
ugly in the
subscribe button.
comments.
All that bullshit that people always say. But like Josh suggested, just if you want to write a review, just write a review about your favorite Fat record, or your least favorite, or whatever you want to do. Just I don't know, call us a bunch of morons. I don't care.
Write some literature.
Oh, even better.
You know what I mean.
You can infer whatever you want from that. All right. We'll be back next week to talk about Snuff Said and Flibbity Dibbity Dub. I guess that's how you say that. Thanks for listening.